Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate, but create. You are landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create.
Hello guys, how are you? Cryptex here. Give me just 1 second to say hello to you guys. Let me know if my sound is good. I'm gonna see who's in the chat. Mary Beanie, hello Mary, how are you? Rebecca is in the house. Candy, part 2 of that, so we are left hanging. Yeah. Anyways, we are gonna talk about the part 1. Good timing. USA Libertarian. I don't know if you are already at the movies watching The Revenge of the Sith. Let us know if it's a good movie or not. Mary Beanie, thank you for being here. Jackie. No, this is the first part, the language analysis about Kegan Kline. Is not the second part of Richard Allen. Mar, how are you, Mar? Happy to have you here. One of my favorite mods from the TD21 from Australia. Hit the fucking like. Hey guys, please hit that like. My Australian friend is telling me that my last live was the best ever. The one I did in the park. Why do you think it was the best? Thank you anyways for the compliment, let's say. Yeah, the one about the clerical error. Okay, I'm happy you like it. I'm glad. Jackie also is in the house in Cryptex land. Hello, Jackie. Hello, Linda K. This is interesting. Yeah, Netherlands representation. My good friend from the Orange country, Simdal. How are you? Happy to have you here. Derby Kitty. How are you, Derby? Oh, we have a good crew tonight. Mike Esari. How are you, brother? Happy to have you here too. Cryptex in a park without snow. Yeah, that's not very useful. I agree. But I still have maybe 3 or 4 months of a little bit of sun. After that, it's going to be winter again. So this is like Winterland. It's not Cryptex land, it's Winterland. Iwata, how are you, Iwata? No Walla Monicas. No Walla Monicas. So thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna start saying or telling some words for Shane coinciding. During that live, the one I made in the park about the clerical error, I was talking to you guys, and I was talking to Shane, and he had different opinions about what I was saying during that live streaming. And I told him that, hey man, and there's no problem. You can come to my channel. We can talk together. You can be my guest. And when I was talking to him, I said the word antagonist, something like, even if you are the antagonist of the show, you are welcome to be here as my guest. And after that, Shane sent me an email. He was not happy at all. He was a little bit shocked because I used the word antagonist, and I want to present my excuses to Shane. In Spanish, I I didn't know that the word antagonist had like a negative connotation in English. In Spanish, we use the same word antagonista, but it's not a negative word. It's like I don't know, to say, let's say Mike Tyson and another boxer, Muhammad Ali, or anyways, his rival. We say one is the antagonist of the other one. It's like uh, it's just to say that it's another person with a different perspective, with a different opinion, let's say. So we use the word antagonista, and I use it maybe in the wrong way. So I already talked to Shane by email. Everything is good, but I wanted to say that in public as well. So I'm gonna read your comments later. What I want to do tonight is there was a very cool video that was made by this guy. I think his name is Sergio Dinaro. His channel is Truth Revealed. He's like an expert in language analysis, and I love the way he analyzes the words used by the suspects during interrogations, during interviews. He's able to read between lines. He's able to detect some things that we are maybe not able to detect. He's trying to do that. He called indicators like language indicators. I'm gonna show his video. We're gonna understand better. Maybe you already saw the video today. He's gonna analyze the one of the interviews that was conducted to Kegan Klein, and he's gonna tell us what he's able to see in that type of interrogation. Let's say if Kegan was deceptive, when was Kegan deceptive? You know that Kegan Klein is one of my favorite subjects here in this case, and I really liked what he did, that language analysis. Uh, he did like a part one, and it was so good. At the end, what's going on? It's almost finished, and he said, "Okay, we are gonna make a part two." I was damn. I really wanted to continue uh, watching the video, but anyways. So I'm gonna play the video, and we're gonna talk about it. Let me just uh, present it here, and I'm gonna stop it from time to time to talk about it. I think it's not in the screen. I don't know what's going on here. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, come on. Just 1 second. Sorry, be patient, guys. I think I got it here. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it from time to time to read your comments, to talk about what he's saying, and to see what are your opinions about this. So let's do it.
I look for leakage. I look for indicators. And I find them because I know that people are going to talk about what they're thinking about. So this principle is going to lead us into part 2 of what we're going to do today. I'm going to walk you through my investigative process here. I spent all last week working on Richard Allen's interrogation video, put it out over the weekend. Monday, I got up and thought, okay, where do I go from here? What's the next step? What stood out to me in Richard Allen's interrogation was leakage from the detective. Richard Allen himself had nothing to do with this. There's no time over the course of that entire interrogation where the memory of murder was playing on his words. It never incorporated itself into his vocabulary. We did notice, though, leakage from the detective. I decided the first step I want to do is I want to go and I want to look up any press conferences that the police put out. It turns out there was one right after Richard Allen was convicted. I don't know if he was the DA or the ADA, but he went and gave a press conference. During that press conference, at the very end, there was one quick question asking about if looking at Anthony's shot as a suspect, if that was over, if there was anything more with that. The prosecutor immediately shut that down. He got very uncomfortable very quickly. The way I remember it, because of his body language, was we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to think about that. Don't ever mention that again.
They are not very comfortable, law enforcement, talking about Anthony shots and about Kegan Kline today. We're gonna see what Nick McClelland is, what is his reaction when journalist asked him about Keegan Klein during a press conference. And also we know that Jerry Holman, he doesn't want to talk about the Wabash River search. So even if they say, or at least Holman said that the Anthony shots angle is not yet closed, they don't want to talk too much about that. Holman said, I don't want to talk, or I cannot talk about the Wabash River search. And Nick McClelland was very defensive when the journalist did ask that question to him. We're going to see that right now.
Is what he was thinking when he said what he said. In fact, let's play it right here.
But I guess given all the questions, and you've all addressed it up here and how frustrating it was, your confidence in the security of this verdict and in this maximum sentence?
I feel confident in the verdict and the sentence. But again, I'm not on the Court of Appeals, so they'll have to make that decision.
In the Anthony Shots profile and any other secondary investigation.
What do you mean looking into the Anthony Shots profile?
Well, it does when you get that for information or the user at that profile, at least the client was in custody at that time, and then it just kind of faded out.
Well, it didn't fade it out. He was convicted of what, 34, 35 counts?
If anybody else connected from that profile to this fix level.
Not that we have any information of that right now.
Can you speak to the tires?
Maximum sentence on each count. And so I thank you.
I was muted. Maximum sentence in each count. Yeah, but he's not serving 130 years. So yeah, he's very defensive here when he's answering to that question. He's not very comfortable about it.
Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Abby and Libby themselves. Libby for recording the defendant as he walked across the bridge, having the wherewithal to pull out her phone and record that individual, having the wherewithal to know that something wasn't right. Arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, that recording of their killer. And then to Abby for hiding the phone from the killer so that he couldn't take it with him, hiding the phone so that law enforcement could find it and get that piece of evidence that Libby had collected. Without the efforts from those two little girls, we wouldn't be here today. So Abby and Libby, thank you.
So immediately I jumped on Google and YouTube and said, who's Anthony Shot? I found out that that is a fake account that was made by Kegan Klein. So I looked into that. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I watched a podcast from Murder Sheet. I found out that Kegan Klein had been interviewed about the child pornography case that he was eventually convicted of. He was one of the largest child pornography distributors, collectors in Indiana state history. And that evidence was uncovered during the investigation of the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So I thought, what's the connection there? And then I went and I looked for his interrogations. And while I couldn't find a YouTube video of his interrogation, I found the transcript. I brought up the transcript where they were interviewing him about the child pornography, 200-page transcript. And turns out the last 80 pages of the transcript are all about the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So I meticulously went through that. When he was already in jail, he was being interviewed about the child pornography charges that were being brought against him. But there was 2 detectives in there, and they were asking questions specifically about the murder. Oh boy, we now have a whole interrogation/interview that we can go through here, and we can look for deception, and we can look to see if we can gain any more information about these murders, about the crimes, and that's what we're going to do right now. So that's the third part of this video.
So me too, I'm gonna do a spoiler alert here. He's gonna find a lot of indicators indicating that Kegan was deceptive when he was talking about the murders. And what is interesting too is that the previous video that he made, which was the analysis of the interrogations to Richard Allen by Holman, Mullin, and Liggett, when he did the same type of analysis to the interrogations of Richard Allen, he was not able to find any indicators of deception during those interviews. And this is really interesting because the interviews were really long, and Richard Allen was not contradicting himself. He didn't present any type of deception indicator. So that was really, really interesting. So let's continue here.
We are now going to go through Keegan Kline's interview regarding the child pornography charges that were brought against him. As we go through this, I want you to keep in mind the lesson that we talked about earlier about the way that when you have a memory that is a heavy memory, like murdering 2 little girls by stabbing them in the throat, a memory like that, it's not something that you can put on a back burner, because when a detective is specifically asking you questions about the murder, it's not possible for you to not relive that murder while they're talking about it. You have those memories, they're going to flash and they're going to play in your head while you're answering these questions. That is going to spill out in the verbiage. Before we go into this, I want to tell you one of the rules that I look for. It's literally called a confession, which means I'm looking for, does the subject ever say at any point in their statement, I did this, or I killed her? It's always said in the negative. I can't believe you're saying that I killed Libby German. It seems like it's said in the negative. The same way that when you come home from work and you're talking to someone at work and you're starting to have feelings for that person, you never say, I'm attracted to this new person, so we went out to lunch and hung out. You don't phrase it like that. The way that you phrase it is, I'm training this new coworker, whatever, we went out to lunch to talk about this new project. You're saying the actions that you did, and you're phrasing it in a way that makes it so that the person hearing it is going to mentally skip over what you're saying. But that principle is something that you will find often in a lengthy interrogation of a guilty subject. That's one of the indicators that I was looking for as I was going through this statement. So let's see if he accidentally slips in, I killed them, I killed these girls, into his statement anywhere in here. So let's get started. On about...
Sorry, my mic again. My mic. I'm glad that a guy like this one, a really smart guy, is finding this type of elements in the interrogations we are watching, Richard Allen, Kegan Kline, because this guy is not a poor guy, you know, and he's gonna find a lot of indicators about deception during the Kegan Kline interrogation. The journalist who was asking the question to Holman, to Nick McLelland about the Anthony Shots account. He was not a poor guy either. So you know that I'm convinced that Kegan Kline was part of this crime, and I'm glad that uh, every single piece of information, or at least experts analyzing the case, there maybe it's confirmation bias, but I'm glad that I'm not the only one, because I know that some people say, hey, Cryptex, you're stuck with the freaking Kegan Klein situation here, but I just feel good. I wanted to say that. Sorry, guys, for the interruption. So this guy is not a poor guy at all.
Page, I think it was 63, there's a portion of this conversation that is important because of some of the information that comes out. So where it says A, I'm not sure what A stands for, but in here it stands for Keegan. So the Q, I'm not sure what Q stands for. It just looks like question and answer. DC stands for Detective Clinton, Carter, I'm not sure. But just so you know, every time it says A, that is Keegan. So first question, you also are that's your primary phone, and you don't, all the child porn's on it. Keegan, come on. And Keegan says, I swear to God, no child, I guess child porn technically is anything under 18, but yeah, no kids like that ever. You can show me anything you want. That doesn't mean that was me doing it. There's three big problems with this question. First, he says, I swear to God. That's an indicator of sensitivity. That alone is not an indicator of deception. But if it's surrounded by other indicators of sensitivity or indicators of deception, that makes that an indicator of deception. Now, the reason why it's usually an indicator of deception is because a truthful, honest person, the truth is backing them up. And the truth is the ultimate rock solid foundation. So when you know you're telling the truth, you say it with authority, and you don't need any other authority. When somebody says, I swear to God, I swear on my mother's grave, I swear on the Bible, it means that they feel that they don't have enough authority. They don't have anything backing them up. So anytime somebody's trying to give themselves more authority, it means they're not relying on the truth. He says, I swear to God, no child, and then he cuts himself off. I guess child porn technically is anything under 18. He just told you there that he has child pornography on his phone. Now he's going to insinuate that there's an age cutoff here. So he says, yeah. Yeah is leakage. When somebody says yeah, it means they're agreeing with the accusation because the memory in their head matches the accusation. The automatic word that gets pulled is going to be in agreement with the accusation. So he says, yeah, a truthful person is going to start by saying no kids like that, because he's actually trying to say a negative statement. So instead of saying, but no kids like that, he says, but yeah, no kids like that ever. Okay, now we have a few problems with this too. Other than the yeah, he says like, which means not that. So if something is like something else, it means it's not that other thing. We call that a reduction of commitment, and we have to take that into consideration here. And then he also uses the word ever. So the problem with the word ever and never is that they apply to all of time, into the future, the past. If you say something like, I would never do that, that means I'm telling you that in the future that can't happen. And obviously we don't know the future. So if I'm telling you something that I know, that you know, that it's not true to a certain extent, it means that it's not true to any extent. That's the largest reduction of commitment word that we can find. No kids like that ever. That also means into the future, because he's not talking about a specific time period. There's no reason why he wouldn't continue to look at child pornography in the future. This isn't a closed time event. It's not an action that started and ended. So we know that's deceptive. So now we actually have 4 indicators up to this point, which means we know with certainty that this is a strong indicator of deception here. Then he says, you can show me anything you want about the child pornography that's on his phone. That doesn't mean that was me doing it. Now notice the way that this is phrased makes this an insinuation. Insinuation is one of the biggest things that we look for. It refers back to that rule that we talked about before we got into this, which is what's on your mind. if you have the memory of a crime on your mind right now, it is virtually impossible to directly contradict that. A deceptive person will never be able to say, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. I didn't kill her. Anything that misrepresents reality 100%, you're just never going to see that. So you see things like this. This is an
It's not fascinating. It's fascinating. I love it.
attempt at a denial by insinuation. You can show me anything you want. That doesn't mean that was me doing it. He doesn't say he didn't do it. When somebody is responding to an accusation and they respond with an insinuation, it means the truth is the opposite of their insinuation. Sometimes when somebody's being deceptive, you don't know what the truth is. They say, I think my car was red. You know that they're being deceptive, so the car's not red, but that doesn't tell you what color the car actually is. So it's nice when we get binary deception, because then we know what the truth is. Okay, so we know that he has child pornography on his phone. We know that the age of the children doesn't matter to him. And we know that it was him doing it. So we can move on now to the next question here. And
So before going to the next question, I'm gonna read your comments so far, because if I don't do that, I'm gonna be so late, and I don't want to be late with you guys in the chat. So my Australian friend, it was raw, candid, and frank. So he's talking about my last live. He liked it a lot. The one about the clerical error. It said what a lot of us have been thinking. I was on a date with Kathy Shank when I watched it. Okay, I'm glad you liked the live. Sec. I watched Sergio this morning and learned a lot. I knew Cryptex was gonna be all over this one. Yeah, me too. I love it, and I'm waiting for the part 2. I hope it's gonna come soon. Anna Lisette, happy to have you here. It wasn't a bad word. So Anna is talking about the antagonist. I think the word I used when I was referring to Shane. Devil's advocate could have been used instead, but antagonist can be mean the same. Okay, so I was not that lost. But anyways, Shane took it bad. So I just want to apologize anyways if he took it that way. You cannot say antagonist, but you can say guilty with no real evidence. No, but I said antagonist to Shane, not to not to Allen. Lead with love. Sergio also points out that only certain people can really use this his technique. Yeah, it's awesome. His technique is awesome. This first part, like the first 15 minutes, is gonna be about child molestation, about the CSAm, and the next part is when he's talking about the murders, and he's gonna tell us why he thinks that actually that Keegan was actually involved in the murders. That was very interesting. USA Libertarian. Cryptex has said he thinks Allen was probably involved. Yeah, that's what I think, and you know why. And it's not related to the bullet. It's not related to the picture of this guy. Is not related to anything that was presented during the process. It's only my dot connection, let's say, when I think about the Wabash River, and that's it. But you know what is my theory. And today we're going to talk about the language technique. Why do people who think Allen is guilty think that this is the single discussion we can have? Yeah, you're right. Some people said that he's involved. Some people says that this crime was committed by multiple people. Some people think that Richard Allen is not guilty. And I agree. I don't think the state proved their case. One thing is what I think. Another one is what happened during the process. And I agree with you guys. the state they didn't prove their case. There is a lot of reasonable doubt. If I'm a juror, I wouldn't be able to convict Richard Allen or to say that Richard Allen was guilty at all. Slutty Goosey is here. How are you, Slutty Goosey? DNA King, Simdal. If you don't think it was just Richard Allen, people call you mentally ill. Yeah, of course. This community is very polarized, and if you are not with that group, yeah, they're gonna say that you are just insane, that you are just crazy. It's like we have to have the same logic they have, and we know that there are a lot of elements here that don't add up at all. I don't know. I imagine that you know that type of drawings when you were a child, that you were connecting the dots, to form like a figure. This case is like this type of drawing, but you don't have 50 points. You have like 4 points. So when you connect the dots, you can form the face of Richard Allen, or you can form the face of Kegan Kline, or you can form the face of Ron Logan. That drawing doesn't have enough points to be able to connect properly the person who committed this crime, or the persons. But the people who are just closed in that opinion, saying that Richard Allen is the one who committed this crime and the only one, I disagree. I respect their opinions. If that's their logic, fine. But I disagree because I think there are a lot of unknown elements, a lot of unanswered questions. And I can apply the same logic to the opposite team, or the opposite side of this spectrum, let's say. People who think that Richard Allen is innocent, I think they may have enough elements to say that, just because they don't see that all the points are connecting together. Actually, what I think is that we don't know. We can say that likely Richard Allen was involved, or likely he was not involved, but we cannot say 100% that he's innocent or that he's guilty. It's just my opinion. We can formulate theories, we can speculate, but I don't think we have enough information to make a conclusion in terms of his innocence or in terms of his guiltiness, let's say. Let's continue here with the chat. Hi, Wata. Lead with love and Sergio is correct. I can't honestly say I wouldn't respond any differently than Klein did. USA Libertarian, maybe it was Richard Allen, but there is also the quality of the investigation. Exactly. They obviously flow the trial, of course. Again, and I know I am a parrot here, but this type of case is like think about the case of John Bennett Ramsey. We are gonna talk forever about that case. Why? Because the investigation was crap. And there are the West Memphis 3, same thing. The investigation was crap. So we today we are still talking about those cases, because in my opinion they're never gonna be solved. Why? Because the investigation was crap. And that may be the case here in Delphi. The investigation was so crap that I'm not sure we're gonna know the actual truth. Slutty Goosey, I like this guy a lot. Yeah, me too. I watch a lot of his videos on Karen Reed. I just started watching this guy when he made the video about Richard Allen, but yeah, you're right. Now I'm like a little bit of an addict because I love his analysis a lot. From the Theory 21, thank you, Linda Kay. It's changed significantly over the years, but 2UP still makes it a cash cow. I don't know what are you talking about here. Grino's question. That was Grino asking that question? No, really? He was the journalist? Oh, shit. I don't have my glasses here and I'm so blind, guys. I have trouble to read your comments. I'm gonna try to increase the ratio of my screen. Okay, I think it's working now better. I'm so blind. Okay, let me put my cursor. Just 1 second, guys, because I'm really blind. Let me go. Sorry if I'm cutting the flow here, but now my mouse is not working properly. What did I do? Oh, God. What did I do, guys? My mouse is not working. It's not reacting. I have to put the ratio again as it was before, maybe. Oh, my God. Okay, now it's working. Sorry for that. But I'm lost. I don't know what was the last comment I was reading. Sorry, guys, here, just 1 second. It's gonna be 1 minute already. Okay, I think I have it. Okay, Hiwata. I left a channel I followed for 2 years for being called stupid and evil because I was still on the fence. What was that channel, Hiwata? Let us know. I'm interested. I left a couple of channels as well that I was following before because I found that the channel was really toxic, and I don't want to become the same here in my channel. I want to have different opinions in the chat, and just let's try to talk in a civil way. Analyset. Meanwhile, Holman refuses to say one word on the Wabash River search. Exactly. It's like they don't want to know anything about Kegan Kline, and that's because they know that Kegan Kline was involved. To me, that's evident. So again, Holman, he doesn't want to talk about the Wabash River. McLeland, Nick, he didn't want to answer to the Anthony Schott's question. They don't want to know anymore about that subject. They were rushing to close the case. Like that, Doug Carter was ready to resign with a big star, a big medal on his chest. And they were shaking hands. Great job, guys. We have the guilty guy behind bars, and that is over. They are not going to do any investigation about the clients anymore. They're not going to do any investigation about what happened with Dan Doolin, the lost tip narrative, that clerical error. They're not going to go back to that. That's fine for them. They lost 5 years of investigation because someone cleared that tip, and we have to be okay with that. Yeah, right. So yeah, that's very sad, guys, but it is what it is, I think. Simdal. He was wasting government funds to swim and get some sun. You're talking about Holman and the Wabash River, I guess. And a USA libertarian, after being left on the streets for 3 years. I don't know, guys, what are you talking about here in the chat? They passed Nick, you should read the case notes. I'm lost, guys. I think you're talking about something I don't know. Lead with love. I emailed Sergio and asked his permission to send thumb drives of his interview with Richard Allen and Jerry Holman to 100 people. I want his blessing, but he has not responded. He has like 40,000 followers. I guess his email box is full of emails, so maybe he's gonna never read your email. I don't want to be negative, but maybe that's the case. It's a big volume of followers, and it's hard to answer. I have a small amount of subscribers, and sometimes I cannot answer to your emails. Analyze that or don't dox me. I'm busy at work the whole week, and sometimes I'm not able to answer to you guys. And imagine someone with 40,000 subscribers is gonna be harder. Big fish, small pond. Don't hate, create. Is in the house. Happy to have you here. Annalise said, Nick, in an interview with Hidden True Crime, more or less admitted that Richard Allen's story about his times, not crossing the bridge, etc., could be true. Unlikely, according to McClelland, but possible. Does even he doubt? Yeah, good point. Again, there's a lot of missing pieces here. A lot. Can you time yourself out? I don't know. Mike Esari. And the two missing cell phones in this case are Keegan's main phone and Richard's main phone. Yeah, that's interesting. But they had, at least they had the phone of Richard Allen when he was interviewed by Dan Doolin. So I think it's really weird. I think they had all the information at the time. Maybe they went into the Richard Allen's phone and they didn't find anything connecting Richard Allen to the crime. We know that the geofencing data was not allowed to be presented during the process. So that's like an indication that the cell phone of Richard Allen, in my opinion, was not an element that could be against him, let's say, and could be the opposite. And maybe that's why they cleared Richard Allen at the time. It's really weird that they had the phone in 2017 right on their hands, and today they're making a big deal. Where is your phone? But it's not here anymore. It was with me 5 years ago. I gave you my phone. You took my serial number. What is the name to that? I don't know. Anyways, the serial number of the cell phone that was available at the time. So yeah, Biggie dated Klein. Everyone who's Biggie. Annalise said, one of the girls said they had to go down the hill before the man spoke. Yeah, to me that's an indication that maybe they were to meet someone at the other side of the bridge. That's a good point. He said that before bridge guy spoke on the bridge. Before bridge guy said, guys, down the hill. They were already planning to go there. USA Libertarian. What about the guy we were trying to pin it on 3 days before arresting Richard Allen? Nothing to see here. What was that guy? I'm a little bit lost here. Help me, guys, with that. Lead with love. I wish he had the interviews that were erased. Imagine that. But it's not going to happen. And Ali said, when Kegan Kline lips move, he tends to be lying. Even his truths are half lies. Yeah, he's a compulsive liar for sure. Eye of Apophis is here. How are you, man? We are waiting for your videos. What's going on? You're taking too much time, man. You are making us wait. That's not nice. USA Libertarian. Nick and Holman lying about always thinking it was one guy makes it too obvious they really are not confident. Of course, they know they are multiple perpetrators. And we can see that, as you say, is when we hear these guys talking, and we are not gonna repeat the whole speech, but when they were talking about tentacles, when they were talking about multiple actors, when Holman is saying that the Anthony Shot's angle is not yet closed, of course they know they are other actors here. But the pro-prosecution group of this community, they are like donkeys, like they are so stubborn, just to, I don't know, like to have peace inside. Like, okay, they found a guy, he's behind bars, the case is closed, let's open the bottle of champagne, and that's it. That's, I don't understand that. Come on, guys. If they think that Richard Allen is involved, okay, but it's hard to me to understand how someone can think that this crime was committed by one single person. It's impossible. It's almost impossible. Just the way the elements of the crime scene are clear in that sense. Just the lack of defensive injuries. So this crime was committed by multiple people, multiple actors. But anyway, everybody is free to think what they want to think. AVG, Annalise said you're right. She did say down the hill or something like that, before BG. Yeah, exactly. They were already going to. They were already going down the hill. I'm gonna advance a little bit here. I actually just got done watched this. He's good. Yeah, he's very good. I'm glad you. Thank you so much, Mar, for sharing the link. So, yeah, his channel is called Empathy Method. USA Libertarian. If law enforcement could prove Keegan Klein was anywhere near the bridge, they absolutely would have prosecuted him. So the jackasses can shut the fuck up. Yeah, I agree 100%. Analyse. Law enforcement knows where Keegan Klein's phones were during the crime, but they have no idea where Keegan Klein was located. Yeah, this is so sad, let's say. Simdal. He very well could have been coordinated it, of course. Okay, Analyse. We had a big wind storm last night. My Wi-Fi signal was supposed to be strong, but the service is intermittent. Sorry for that. Sorry to hear that, Anna. Jackie, why did Keegan Klein have to sign a NDA? And Julie M? Who is Julie M? Melvin? What do you mean about that? Thank you, Mar, for linking the channel of Sergio. Sunflower. Listening to part 1 this afternoon. Can't wait for part 2. Yeah, me too. This guy is amazing. He is amazing. Amazing. Mar, I'm gonna have to watch some of his other videos. Yeah, me too. Same here. Simdal. Statement analysis is fascinating. I agree, 100%. The previous one on the Allen interrogations is great. I agree. It's great. And again, it's crazy that he was not able to find deception. I couldn't find any deception indicators during when I was watching the Richard Allen's interviews. I was not able to see any contradiction, but I'm not an expert analysis. And when I hear this type of expert, I think, oh shit, I wasn't that lost. Because some people were saying, the way Richard Allen is crossing his arms or touching his bird. What the fuck? Anyways, I think this is the real expert here, Sergio. USA Libertarian. I am a bit more skeptical of some of the things he says in this one. Okay. Shane just has his opinion. He doesn't need to be an antagonist. we all have different opinions. That was my point. I wanted to say that he was the one having a different opinion, and I used the word antagonist. But I can see that even in the chat, you guys, you have different opinions about the word antagonist. So it's not necessarily a bad word or a negative word. I don't use it in Spanish, at least, as a negative word or a word with a negative connotation. So, but anyways, you understand my point. That was not my intent, my intention. Lead with love. Sergio clearly states that he can explain his methods, but only certain people are able to be interrogators. He advocates for better qualified interrogators. Yeah, of course. Holman, what was that interrogation? Repeating during 1 hour the same question about the bullet. What was he trying to obtain by doing that? By repeating the same question forever? Of course, Richard Allen, since the beginning, he gave an answer. I didn't do this. I don't understand why are you talking about this bullet report? I cannot talk about something I don't understand. And Holman kept repeating the same question during 1 hour. This is a bad detective, a bad interrogation, a bad interrogator. So he was not able to find anything during that interrogation to Richard Allen. I don't know if a smarter guy could do better. I think so. So I'm gonna continue with the video for a while the next part before stopping to talk to you again, guys.
And the detective says, it's on your device. And he says, okay, that happened. I mean, that's probably happened to a lot of people. That doesn't mean that. And then he gets cut off and he says, no, it doesn't happen, meaning to a lot of people. Now, when he says that happened, that is a confession. It's one of those statements like, I did it. He says, that happened. That is just straight up. Those are the words of a confession that have been worked into his statement here. He says, okay, that happened. I mean, now this is where it gets crazy. Okay, I mean is also a reduction of commitment. That's probably another reduction of commitment. Happened to a lot of people. He's saying here that a lot of people have child pornography on their phones. It doesn't mean that, we don't know what he's going to say here, but I'm guessing he says it doesn't mean that I put the child pornography on there, something like that. So the detective cuts him off. This is where sometimes your personal emotions as the interrogator get the best of you. You want to try to control that because you want to let the subject talk. The more they say, the more information you get that inevitably you're going to be able to use against them or use in the analysis. But he cuts him off. He says, no, it doesn't happen to everyone. So not everyone walks around with child pornography on their phones. During the course of the investigation, they pulled all of the records from all of his electronic devices. And at this point, they've printed it off and they're showing it to him. So we know that this is true. It did happen. So we know that when he says, okay, that happened, that is a confession. But we also have verification that it's a confession through the evidence that's presented there. Okay, next question here. When he says, no, it doesn't happen, technically that's not another question. That's an interruption to the answer to the previous question. So anything that Keegan says at this point is extra information. It's not part of the question unless he's continuing to talk about it being on his device. And he says, okay, someone shoots someone and then they're with the person. That happens a lot. And then they get charged for it and they say that they killed them. That doesn't mean that they killed them. Okay, hold on. What? Back up, because the question was about child pornography on your device. So he is giving you open information here. It wasn't prompted. It wasn't asked for. This is just telling you that this is information that is weighing heavily on Keegan's mind right now. So what is he insinuating? First, we want to figure out what is his actual insinuation here, remember, because when you insinuate something, it means the truth is the opposite. So we do have to understand what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that the child pornography, even though it's on his phone, it doesn't mean that he's the one that took the pictures, because he's saying that, okay, someone shoots someone, he's with someone else, that other person shoots someone, and they're the person. And then he says that happens a lot. And then they get charged for it. They being himself, the person who's been charged with the child pornography. So they is in reference to himself here. They're with the person, that happens a lot. And then they get charged for it. And they say that they killed them. That means Keegan says that Keegan killed them. That doesn't mean that they killed them. So he's saying that doesn't mean that I killed them. Okay. Now that we have the insinuation, which is that the child pornography on his phone isn't his, someone else in this example could have taken those pictures, and he was just the accomplice that was there and wasn't the person who was actually exploiting the children. He was just the accomplice. Even the analogy is a confession in its own right. He's not even denying this at all. He's saying that his defense here is that he wasn't the person who was the mastermind behind this. And the word mastermind is on my mind right now because that was leakage from the interrogation. That means to me that the detective is aware of this interview, and I will get to that more in a minute here. But what does this verbiage tell us? He's using the example of murder. So murder's weighing on his mind. Okay, someone shoots someone and then they're with the person. That happens a lot. He's saying when there's a murder and there's a murderer and you're the accomplice, the Broca section of his brain is scanning and analyzing his memories as he's formulating words. As he's trying to come up with this example, it's scanning the murder because that's what's on his mind. And so he uses murder as his example here. I know that. By now, you know that. But it's still what? No, I'd say 90%, because murder, sometimes people just throw murder out as the example. It's just the easiest thing because it's the worst thing. But he says that happens a lot. That is a personal reference that he has inserted into this general example. This analogy now has a personal note to it. That happens a lot. He's telling you this happens to me a lot. So I'm assuming that it happens to everybody a lot. And then they get charged for it and they say that they killed them. That doesn't mean that they killed them. He is telling you numerous things here. He's trying to tell you literally that there's a mastermind and that he is only the accomplice. That's what he's trying to tell you. He's using an example of murder because that's what's on his mind. He's saying this situation happens a lot, as in it happens in both the child pornography and in the murder. And then he says, just because they killed them and I was there, and he says them. He doesn't say him or her in this example. He says them. So, and they say that they killed them. That doesn't mean that they killed them. This is really skirting that line of almost a confession that he was there and he was the accomplice when the two girls were murdered, but that there was this mastermind who is unnamed. It's the someone here that was there that was coordinating it. So let's move to the next question.
So before moving to the next question, I'm gonna continue here with you guys to not be too late in the chat. I love when he says that when he talks about Keegan being the mastermind, because that's the word I used when referring to Keegan in this crime. To me, he's the mastermind of this crime. I like a lot when he talks about that when you have something in your mind, you have the need to talk about it. So it's interesting that they were asking him about something and Keegan was answering about something different or adding unnecessary information to the original question. Here I'm gonna be a little bit annoying, but the fact that Keegan was talking about murder when the question was about CSAm, to me is maybe kind of normal, because in the context of the interrogation, of course, he was being interrogated because something happened to Abby and Libby. So here I'm like 50-50 with him. But anyways, just the language analysis is very, very interesting. I want to say also that I'm surprised. I have almost 70, and sometimes it shows 70 viewers here. And that happens normally when I am streaming with someone else, with Steve from True Crime Web, or with another guest, let's say Farmer or Rick. But I think this is the first time that I have this number of viewers when I'm streaming alone. So thank you guys for that. I feel good. Sunflower, what about the unknown male DNA on the bodies? Yeah, that's very interesting. And not only that, what about the lack of DNA or the lack of blood traces in the car of Richard Allen? That's interesting as well. What is interesting is also that if Richard Allen was the killer, and if he was the only one committing the crime, why does he have his car in 2022? If I'm the killer, if I was driving that car at the time of the murders, I'm gonna destroy that car. I'm gonna throw it into a river. I'm gonna burn it. He had his car. He didn't destroy his car. It was available for law enforcement to do a super search. They were not able to find anything there. Why would he have a bullet in his memory box, as someone call it? I don't know. It's not like his jacket. He was not trying to destroy any evidence, in my opinion. So I don't know. That's interesting, at least. Rosemary Nies Markham. On the photo of the girls in the car, Abby has her sweatshirt on, Libby a t-shirt. What Kelsey had on, we don't see. In the bridge video, we only see SEE Abby. I think we hear three girls, Abby 17 and Kelsey. Yeah, I think everyone is listening to something different. We are 1 million people watching the same video of the two girls on the bridge, and the bridge guy behind Abby, and everybody is listening something different. So it's crazy. I did an experiment with my friends in different parts of the world. Some friends are in Australia, some friends are in Ireland, Netherlands, Colombia, US. They don't know about the case, and I sent here in Canada as well, of course. I sent the video to them, and I asked, "What do you hear?" And the answers were just crazy. Yeah, I did a small video in my channel, so I think it's impossible to understand some parts of the video properly. It's just a matter of interpretation at one point. And as I said, it's not the time to take sides in this mess. I agree. The evidence is weak and circumstantial. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. There is no direct evidence here linking Richard Allen with the crime, even if I think he's involved for another reason, But I agree. I would never convict Richard Allen based on the evidence we know, or the evidence that was presented during the process. And there was a lot of information that was not presented to the jurors. They were not able to talk about Kegan Kline, about Ron Logan. So yeah, the jurors, they were listening to one side of the story, one side that is not even complete, where some things are not making any logic. Anyways, yeah, it's just a crappy investigation. Again, I do the same parallel with the case of John Bennett and the case of the West Memphis 3. Some people say, why are you still talking about Delphi? It's over, the guy is behind bars. But no, because the investigation was crappy. That's why we talk about John Bennett. That's why we talk about the West Memphis 3. And we are going to talk forever about that. And I guess it's going to be the same in this case, thanks to the incompetence of law enforcement. So that's what happened. Rosemary, maybe Kelsey had the black sweatshirt on. I think I already read this comment. Simdal, I struggle with motive. That's also something. What was the motive? The state didn't provide a motive here. And no real past or digital evidence of the pervert proclivity. It is so far out of field. Yeah, again, there are a lot of missing parts, a lot of missing information. I'm gonna talk again about the drawing with the dots. When we were trying to connect dots in that drawing, there are a lot of missing dots. You can form any shape when you connect the dots. You can form the face of Richard Allen, the face of Kegan Kline, the face of Ron Logan, or the face of anyone. Mara thinks that she thinks Rick is innocent. I respect that, of course. And with this type of investigation, it's not illogic to think like that. I always believed you make your own luck. Yeah, I agree. Well, I think sometimes you are lucky, but in general, most of the part is because you work hard or you're smart, and yeah, you make your own luck. But to win the lottery, you have to buy the ticket. You're not gonna be billionaire if you don't buy the ticket. So just saying. Jackie, I just thought that was unusual to me. And the never statement, I say never when I would never. Lead with love. Barry Sheck of the original Innocence Project states that he is astounded at how people exonerated after 30 years can be released and have a lack of vengeance. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? That's crazy. Maybe when you are isolated, you become wise. I don't know. Yeah, that type of isolation, you are always thinking, you don't have anything else to do. You are not stressed because you have to work. So maybe because of that, you become wise. I don't know. Analyzed. In many cases, we do make our own luck, but other times bad luck happens. And good luck also, in my opinion. Jack Hall. I think Richard Allen is 100% innocent. I truly don't think he's involved at all. Please hit the like, guys. Share the video, subscribe. That's gonna help us a lot here. Hiawatha, the other channel was Sleuth Intuition. Sorry for that, Hiawatha. It's bad. I don't want my chat becoming like that. Just if you see someone thinking in a different way and he's respectful, I don't see any problem here, guys. Actually, a lot of you disagree with my own opinions, and that's cool. That's part of the charm. USA Libertarian. It's investigative technique that people want to be evidence. I don't think we can make actual conclusions from it. Aquarium 1 is here. Hi, Cryptex and friends. How are you, Aquarium? Happy to have you here. Thank you for showing up. Sunflower. I agree, not inviting at all. Mavhawk. Hello, how are you? But nobody on the Innocence Project wants to get involved in Rick's case. I didn't know that. Maybe they're waiting for the first process of appeal. I don't know. But if they were involved in the, what's the name of this guy, Stephen Avery case, I don't understand why they wouldn't be involved in the Richard Allen's case. But anyways, Raphael Webb, how are you? The killer came from Lafayette on the day and still lives there. He was born in a different neighboring county, though. Do you have any person of interest, Raphael? Can you share your opinion? That sounds interesting. From the TD21, in this case, you are your own worst enemy. Rings true. Yeah, that's true. Rosemary talks about the phone. Abby, for hiding the phone from the killers so they couldn't find it. Okay. Yeah, me too. I have the same question, Mar. How do you know that? Just wondering if you can share some information here, or why do you think that's the case? Please let us know. It was a really interesting comment, and I want to know what is your source, or why do you think that? USA Libertarian. Innocence Project doesn't do cases like this. They only want slam dunks with DNA tests they can run. Yeah, I don't know what is the process for the Innocent Project to be involved. I think there is some type of protocol. So I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe the Lord of Innocence has recently showed interest. Okay. Richard Allen was not a tip. What do you mean? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think you're right. But yeah, he went to talk to Dan Doolin for his own initiative, let's say. Sunflower, any having the wherewithal is the most ridiculous thing to say. Was it before, during, or after she was being analyzed in such a brutal way? Mar, I thought the Innocent Project required appeals to have already been made. Yeah, that was my comment. I think you were reading my mind, Mar. Let's continue here. An Innocent Project will never get involved in Rick's case because there are too many weirdos surrounding Rick and Kathy. I don't think that's the motive. Simdal, Nick used 20 liters of hair gel during the trial. I think 40 liters. There was empty shelves in Walmart. You're right. Monday, maybe Carroll County needs to hire Sergio. Yeah, I was thinking the same. This type of agencies, they should have someone like that, some expert to help in the interrogations. That's a great point. Great point. Sunflowers. The statement Abby having the, what is the wherewithal? What is that? I don't know that word. Sorry for my ignorance. To hide the phone is ridiculous. I think you already put this comment here. Sorry, I don't understand the word. I learn new words with you guys every time I do a live here. Very true, but remember, he has a lot of experience with public disagreement. He was a member of OJ's Dream Team on the point of handling the DNA. Okay, guys, I'm gonna continue with Slow Intuition. Hello, Slut. I think someone in the chat was a little bit disappointed because she was not treated very well in your channel. But anyways, I'm gonna let you guys to fix that between you. In Kegan Kline transcript, he was having a convo with a young girl on 5/14/16. trying to pass her off to someone he called his dad. The girl asked his dad age, and he said 43. Richard Allen was 43 at the time. Yeah. Again, could be. I know that you have good and interesting theories. It's a good point, but could be also just a coincidence. But and I know, and you know that I don't know if you know, but I think there's a connection between the Kleins and Allen. Trial junkie, Rafael, is he involved with Kegan Kline? Yeah, Rafael, we are waiting for your information. How old was Tony? Yeah, I think Tony was in the same range of age, right? There's no evidence. I think there is no direct evidence. Everything is circumstantial. And yeah, just my point. From the 321, it's like the hair on the tip of my dog's wet when the neighbor's dog are on heat. Same shape, length, and everything. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Dan is here. Hello, Dan. It's Team Sport Cryptex. The main reason some of us say to move on is because the community just begins attacking everyone personally when they are not constant updates. Many are unwell around here. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but I don't think it's something new. Since the beginning, I think there's a toxic element in this community. There's a lot of intolerance. People are not tolerant at all. If you are with the prosecution, you are part of the, what's the word they use? Troll farm. If you are in the side of free Richard Allen, you are insane, you are crazy. Yeah, there's just a lot of intolerance, right? And we have here Slut, and I think Slut intuition, he believes or he thinks that Kegan Klein is involved, right? And Fig is not gonna call Slut a poor guy. You know that there's not only intolerance, there is a double standard. You know, so Cryptex is a poor guy because he thinks Kegan Klein is involved, but Slut or Grey Hughes, Fig is not gonna call them names. You know, it's double standard. Toxic community sometimes, but the good thing is we have good elements as well. And I think, at least in my channel, we have like a safe territory, a safe community here, and nice people. Dan, the problem with all of this is that we, you, me, or anyone will never prove any of it, right, wrong, or exactly. That was my point. We don't have the answers. We can speculate. We can make or formulate some theories here, but it's impossible to say 100% that this guy was guilty, or that this guy was innocent, or that this guy was involved. Again, because the investigation was crap, trash. So I'm also like disappointed, or not disappointed, but what's the best way to, maybe sad, when people are just aligned with law enforcement, not criticizing their mistakes, the errors they made in this investigation. We should be asking for an investigation in regards of the Dan Doolin's lost tip narrative, the clerical error narrative. Law enforcement, they have to be accountable. This is unacceptable. And the division of this community comes also from law enforcement. because some people are just blind. They trust law enforcement. They believe in the authority. And if someone with power says this is what happened, they're gonna just believe it. They're gonna be just believing in a blind way. But we know that this case was a disaster, if using a nice word for that. USA Libertarian, they did the same thing with Kegan Kline. They have enough to go after Tony Klein for the catfishing and CSAm. Totally. Kegan Klein confessed. They went to the Wabash River search. So they found something, because after that they arrested Richard Allen. So Kegan is connected. There's something clearly indicating that he was part of the investigation. And again, in my opinion, he was the mastermind. Raphael Webb. Okay, one guy. BB description was correct, apart from one thing that cannot easily be seen at distance. Her sketch is good, but missing one thing. Okay. Then, it's an exercise in futility rather than a flex on either side. Of Apophis. Sergio is a professional trained. I can vouch for that. Me too. We can see. We can see when people is not only an expert, when people is authentic, when people don't have any agenda. This guy is, it seems, I don't think he knows a lot about the case. He's just taking the interviews, the interrogation, and he's doing his analysis about that in a very professional way, in my opinion. So I'm with you in that point. Interesting. Any other hints? Greeno was from Lafayette. I don't know about that. USA Libertarian. Maybe you don't understand the actual point of the conversation. Okay, let's continue with the video, guys, and I'm gonna come back with you in a couple of minutes.
Here. Yeah, that's why we asked you initially, is there someone else that has access to your phones? And he cuts him off here, because the insinuation is that there's a mastermind, and that Keegan is saying, I'm not the mastermind, I'm the accomplice. And so the detective follows up with, okay, well, that's what we were saying originally, is that there's a mastermind. And Keegan says, right, but that told me how little kids and shit, I've never done that. That is actually not a sensical sentence. That's a sentence fragment, which is an indicator of sensitivity. When somebody starts to give you a sentence, especially if they start talking too soon, which means the true words have already been associated with the memory, but that person hasn't taken enough time yet to edit it, to look and say, is there anything incriminating in here? So they open their mouth and start to talk, and they start to give you the truthful words, but they realize halfway through their sentence that they haven't decided yet how they're going to edit it. They don't know what they're going to change yet, or how to change what they want to change yet in the end of the sentence. And so you end up with this fragment of a sentence. He says, right. So he's agreeing with him, right. But that told me how little kids and shit, I've never done that. So he starts out by talking, and then he gets halfway through his sentence and he said too much, and he aggressively tries to shut himself down. You see that a lot. It's not his baseline to swear, shit, fuck. He uses that in here, but it's always directly tied to a lie. That is called a deception tag. That means swearing in and of itself is not necessarily an indicator of deception, of sensitivity. It's an indicator of increased emotion sometimes, but you can get that from the context. Now, some people will use that when they're lying. They have certain indicators that they like to tie to things. Every individual person has their own way of deceiving. It's like a self-calming ritual. When you're under the stress of being deceptive, there's a certain word that minimizes your commitment to your statement, that relaxes your brain so that you can get out the deception. Different people will choose different indicators. So one person might say just right before they lie. One person might use an explanatory statement followed by a negative statement right before they lie. It's just a matter of how your brain relaxes. Honestly, if I'm going to draw a parallel here, it's like stimming. So autistics will stim. It means they do something, a repetitive movement that they find relaxing, either fidgeting with a fidget spinner or picking at their fingernails, things like that. So a deception tag is kind of like a deception stim, but most people will have one particular word or one particular indicator that they prefer to use because it calms them more than the other indicators. So as far as this sentence goes, he says, right, but that told me how little kids, and then he just cuts himself off. And shit, I've never done that. So he doesn't know how to end the sentence. That means what he was about to say is a complete lie. He just doesn't know how to lie about it. So you get the indicators, you get the swearing. I've never done that. We already know that the word never is a huge indicator. And he says, I've never done that. That's exactly the way that you use it when you're being deceptive. So we don't even need to overanalyze that. He's already used the word ever when he's being deceptive. And this is another example of that. So what is he trying to say here? Let's see. The question is, that's why we asked you initially, is there someone else? Right. But that told me how little kids, and shit, I've never done that. So he says that, which is probably, he doesn't want to say he or him. He says, right, but that told me how little kids. So he's starting to give you information about the mastermind that told me how little kids, or how to manipulate little kids. It's hard to know exactly what's going on in his mind here that he's trying to manipulate and not say, and then he shuts himself down. So we'll go to the next question. So the detective cuts him off and says, your story changes. And then Keegan says, okay, I understand. Yeah, of course it does, because I never did fucking stuff, little kids and stuff like that. All right, well, we have a bunch of indicators here. So your story changes. Yeah, of course it does. First, he agrees with the accusation. Your story's changing. Yeah, of course it does. And then he doesn't know where to go with that. Again, now you're starting to see his tendency, which is to start talking before he's figured out how he's going to phrase the end of the sentence, and then he has to shut himself down. And then he says because, which is an indicator of over-explaining, because, and then he says, I never did fucking stuff, little kids and stuff like that. So all this is telling you is that he did. He has taken pictures, posed, had sex with little kids. And when he's saying little kids, later on, he refers to under about age 5 or below. So there's stuff in here with kids that are less than 5 years old. He doesn't want to be seen as somebody who does stuff to kids under 5 years old. I'm not sure why he draws the line there, but in his mind, that's the cutoff. That's where he feels guilt. So the part of himself where you get the self-loathing for what he's doing is below that age 5 level. So side note, as an interrogator, you should be noticing this here. If I was interrogating him, I would almost completely avoid talking about children 5 or below and only focus on the children in here that he doesn't have that mental qualm about taking pictures, posing, having sex with them, which he says, I think he says very specifically 12 years old and above is not a problem. So I would focus on that, because if you always focus on the 12, 13, 14-year-olds, you're not going to get any resistance from him. And you can still talk about a certain date or time or a certain project. I don't know what you call this, but a certain website that he's working on, whatever. You just don't include the stuff that he has that mental qualms about. But when he admits to the stuff that he doesn't have any problems with, he's also admitting, because it's all one project, it's all one day, it's all one scenario, he's also admitting to everything else. So it's just, that's a method. I'm talking about interrogation here. Like we talked about earlier, it's a way of overcoming that barrier. When you have a scale and you have the person that wants to talk, they do want to tell you everything. It helps them get it off their conscience. So if you're trying to figure out, how do I get Keegan to talk about the child pornography? Because right now, his desire to not talk is weighing down the scale here. So if you take the kids under 5 off of that scale, it moves that scale up to where he's willing to talk about it. So hopefully that gives some context to the stuff I was talking about earlier. Then the detective follows.
I It's fascinating. It's fascinating. This guy is awesome. Let's do another post here to talk to you guys about it. Dan, never dogs, never harassed, but I'm El Diablo in the community. I'm a person who enjoys humor, not harassment of any kind. Maybe the problem, or it's not a problem, and I know you, Dan. I consider you my friend, and I like you a lot. But maybe your sense of humor is very heavy for some people, and this community is very sensitive. So I'm very sensitive. So for small things, maybe I become not mad, but it's when someone is trying to patronize you, or with someone is condescending. That's the word. Using condescendence. I have a trouble to say that word, but you understand what I mean. So I know you have a very heavy sense of humor, and some people don't like that. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why they see you as the devil or the diablo, as you say. But you always tell or say what you think. You are always in alignment with your feelings and your thinking. So shit happens. So some people like you, some people doesn't like you. It's the same with me. Some people likes me, some people don't. But what can we do? We cannot please everyone here. Lead with love, I agree, but as an individual, he is free to act of his own. Maybe I'm a dreamer. Dan, hit the like. Yeah, guys, please hit the like and subscribe. Rafael Webb. So Rafael is still talking about his person of interest. He has never been named. He's smart. Tipped in a long time ago by myself, by you, okay? But because witness Sarah Carbo lied and came forward 3 weeks later, she didn't see him walking at all. She caused the wrong sketch. If you can send me some email with some information, I would appreciate that, Rafael. It's interesting. Crimson Clover. Your avatar reminds me of a song by what's the name of this singer? Joan Jett. Crimson and Clovers. I love that song. People will flip out when they find out who Richard Allen new lawyers are. I hope they are gonna be good. I think the lawyers of Richard Allen were not bad, but they didn't go with a good or with a proper strategy. The whole Odinist theory, I think it was not the way to go. I think it was most how can I say? If they used Ron Logan or Kegan Kline in their strategy, that would be much better. But I don't know why they didn't go that strong with the Kleins and with Logan. Maybe, and that's my opinion, because there's a connection between Allen and the Kleins, and that was not something that would play well for Richard Allen. But it was a bad strategy, in my opinion. When you have bodies in your property, you have to put that guy in your strategy. You have to investigate that guy. I know that the responsibility of the defense is not to investigate, but at least to have that guy in your strategy, especially if his cell phone was pinging next to the crime site at a specific times during the day of the murder. So also with the Anthony Schultz information, you should include Kegan Klein in your strategy, but they went full Odinist, and I think it was not the best strategy from the defense. That's just my opinion. Mohawk. Unfortunately, some people who are much sicker than Rick are advising him and Kathy. They are the real problem. Yeah, it's hard to say who is sick, who is not sick here. There are a lot of masks. We don't know who is behind the screen. So we don't know what is the agenda of the different people here. It's hard to say. Mar, I thought Innocence Project only took a case that already exhausted appeals. Am I wrong? I have the same idea, Mar. I have the same idea. I think so. Maybe you're in the right path. It runs a fine line. You are a Jewish line dancer. Okay, done. A confession makes it easier to convict. The interrogation seemed to be the textbook, other than he didn't relent. A confession, of course, a confession makes it easier to convict, and that was the strategy of the prosecution. They arrested Richard Allen without enough evidence because the bullet element was bullshit. And the strategy was to put Richard Allen in the Westville Correctional Facility. I know it's not solitary confinement, but in a condition that was very similar to a solitary confinement, to have a confession. And those confessions are just questionable. He doesn't give any type of detail. When we listen to Richard Allen talking, he said, I did it. He didn't say how. When you are confessing, you give a lot of details. I think it was Don't Hate Create Fishy who was talking about that. It was a very interesting conversation with Fishy. We don't hear that when we listen to Richard Allen. It's very monotone. He's not giving any information. When this expert, Sergio, is talking about the need you have to talk with when you have something in your mind, it was not the case with Richard Allen. He was giving a very general confession. I did it. And after 13 months in that prison, it's clear that law enforcement was expecting to have those confessions. That's my opinion. We have thank you, Dan, for the beer. Like the smash button. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. And yeah, please, guys, hit the like. And let me go back because I lost again my cursor. Okay, we were here. Crimson and Clover. Who? Yeah, that's Joan Jett. Crimson and Clover. I love that song. USA Libertarian. I just know that groups like that want easy wins. They don't want to come in a complicated case with almost no evidence that has a lot of appeals work to do. You're still talking about the Innocence Project, I guess. Eye of Apophis. Dan, wrong. Holman was the opposite of textbook. Yeah, that was the worst interview and interrogation ever. He was not able to get something from anything from Richard Allen, nothing. He was a constant repetition of the same question. It was really bad. I was not impressed at all by Holman. Even Steve from True Crime, the other time he was here in the channel, and he said that also. He was not impressed about the interrogation made by Holman. From the 321, I love you, come here, baby. Dan, harassment is the making videos about creators and bringing in personal stuff, not saying. Disagreement and mocking ideas is not harassment. I agree 100%. But Also, the way you express your ideas. Because if you are patronizing or saying that people who think different to you are insane or stupid, so that creates toxicity, you know. Mobhack, they like cases with a lot of evidence. They like cases with a lot of evidence, like rigs, where they can use their resources to solve it. Simdal, it is in the Klein household, clearly. Slut intuition. This part of Kegan Kline's interview matches his later confessions. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Dan, eye of Apophis. Boxes were checked other than a confession. No alibi, exclusive possession of the firearm, car, seeing the three girls, the attire, and a lack of an alternative alibi or witnesses for said alibi. There are good questions. I agree, but none of them are conclusive, in my opinion. None of them are like not disputable. Let's say. To me, this is not enough to convict someone, especially for 130 years. We are just missing a lot of pieces here. Again, crappy investigation. I won't be tired of saying that because that was the case, in my opinion. There's a lot of evidence to analyze in Rick's case that the defense couldn't do. I hope of, still talking about Innocence Project, I think that if that happens, it's going to be too late in the future, guys. Eye of Apophis. I can easily dispute every talking point that you named. We are talking about Kegan Klein. I agree that your points down are, yeah, we can challenge every point easily, but at the same time, there are good points. I'm not saying you're wrong, but we cannot say that because of that, you can conclude that he's 100% guilty without a reasonable doubt. That's my point. Okay, let's continue here. So I think you have an interesting conversation in the chat, Dan and I, of Apophis. Mark, call in or join Cryptex. I'm going to continue with the video, guys, here. I'm going to come back to the chat soon.
Up with, there's a lot of stuff with little kids, which I just told you, there's no reason to follow up on that. I mean, emotionally, the detective is upset. Most people that are in the detective's shoes are going to be emotional, but as an interrogator, it's literally your job to not get emotional. You need to be able to put that aside and just logically follow the reasoning, the logic train of the subject that you're talking to. So this follow-up question is a particularly bad one. I'm not saying that this detective is bad or that this interrogation is bad. I'm just saying this is not a question that you would want to follow up with. That's not me is what I'm saying, though. So in his mind, he is still relying on the information that he's not the mastermind. So it's on his phone. He was part of this. He was the accomplice, but there's still someone else who's driving that train, and he's going to lean on that. So we'll move on to the next question here. We would expect that, but you got to understand, we need an answer for this, right? Because it's either it's all you or it's you and someone else. Okay, that's a good follow-up question. You want it to be direct. It's either you or it's you and someone else. He's already told you that it's someone else. He's actually directly told you that it's someone else. So we want to keep following up with questions like this one. And he says, right. So again, he's agreeing with you. He's answered the question. He says, right. And he says, they told me that last time I was here too. So right is leakage. He is agreeing because the memory in his head matches the question. Then the detective says, I wasn't here last time. Dang it. You fell for it. When somebody doesn't answer the question, they answer it with a question, they try and get you off track. After you ask a question, the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, did they answer the question? And if they didn't, you have to restate the question again, because they're trying to get you off track. So he says, I wasn't here last time. Now, in this case, the answer that he gets is even better than the answer to the question that he asked. So we're not upset here. Now, I wasn't here last time. Well, they're talking about the child pornography, the pictures, whether or not he was the mastermind of the pictures, of the whole porn ring. So Keegan says, after the question, I wasn't here last time, or the statement, Keegan says, killing 2 girls. That's what they said to me. They tried to say that I failed a polygraph and that I did it, me or my dad. So do you understand how I kind of have like a kind of like presence where like, wow, these guys are bullshit artists? You get where I'm coming from? When I saw this, I was like, ding, 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 we have a winner. Actually, we have a killer. This is it. There's a confession in here. So let's look at this from every angle. First off, the statement that he's responding to is, I wasn't here last time, which is not a question. It's not even a statement. The detective's talking about himself. I wasn't here last time. So there's literally no prompting for anything. An honest person would be sitting there waiting for the detective to ask something. This is dangerous if you're guilty, to open your mouth when there's not a question asked, because what's weighing on your mind is the only thing there. It's the only thing that's circulating in your head in that moment. So giving that words and throwing it out of your mouth is always a bad idea if you're guilty and you just start talking. But as an interrogator, that's what we're looking for. Interrogators work their entire careers to figure out how to open someone up like this. So he says, unprompted, killing 2 girls. That's what they said to me. Okay. Killing 2 girls isn't a statement. He had killed 2 girls is what he was trying to say, but he didn't want to say that because it's a confession. So he changed that wording in the beginning. Then he says, because now his brain has gotten ahead. The Broca section doing the analysis has gotten ahead of his prefrontal cortex. So now he says, they tried to say that I failed a polygraph, but really what he says here is I failed a polygraph and that I did it. So now you get the confession. He says, I did it. Then he adds in me or my dad. So now he's telling you who the mastermind is and who he is an accomplice for, me or my dad, which he's telling you that as in that's the context of what he was accused of last time. But again, remember, when we're talking about things that are weighing on our mind and we shouldn't be talking about them, but for some reason, we just can't stop talking about it because it's weighing on our mind. It's literally how we're programmed to function. So, and then he continues. So do you understand how I kind of like, now what he's trying to do is gaslight them. He's insinuating. He never says that this was a false accusation. He never says that he passed the polygraph, but they lied to him and said he failed it. He is saying they made these accusations, and the insinuation is that the accusations were false. So because he's insinuating that and he's not saying it, it means that the accusations were true. So we get that as well in here. And then he goes on to ask 2 more questions, which is a way of deflecting. So do you understand how I kind of have like a kind of presence? That's a question. But now he's also trying to turn this back on the detective and saying, you're incompetent. You go down these roads where you're wrong, except he never actually says that they're wrong. He just insinuates it. So we have, what was that, 6 indicators? We have a confession to failing the polygraph, a confession to the murders. He brings up the murders unprompted. He tells you that it's him and his dad are the accomplices. When I first saw this, when I was going through this, I figuratively fell out of my chair, but I very close to literally fell out of my chair. Because up to this point, the only thing that I really knew was that Richard Allen didn't do any of this, that he had no idea that those murders even happened that day on the bridge until they came out in the media. And so when I saw this, it's hard to explain because it all hits me at the same time. All of this information is right here. The detectives have it. The police have it. Everybody has this. There's no question here. It's not even like they're talking to an average Joe. They're talking to the guy who is being charged with being the largest distributor and producer of child pornography in the state of Indiana's history. Now, the only thing left for me is, what is the connection? The prosecutor said in that press conference that there was a connection. They found Kegan Kline because of the connection to the murders. But then they charged him with the child pornography, and they dropped the whole murder investigation. So this is killing me. They have a confession right in front of them. They have all the information right in front of them. But at this point, the only thing left for me is I want to know the connection. So let's keep going through this. Okay, so Emily Ann Ford.
Let's stop again here for a while. Of course, they know he's involved. And Dan, Cryptex, would you convict Keegan? Well, the thing is that the how can I say, the confessions of Keegan Klein, when you compare that confessions with the confessions of Richard Allen, are very, very different. They were made in a very different conditions. So Richard Allen was in that correctional facility. He was drugged with Haldol. He was in a situation very similar to solitary confinement. His confessions are not very detailed. He just said, I did it. Everything is very questionable. The only confession where he was giving some details was the confession that he made to Monica Walla. And again, that's even more questionable. We know what happened with that shrink. She was involved in these Facebook and YouTube groups. I think there's a big possibility that she was feeding Allen with information. It's very weird that we don't have any videotaped register of that confession. We don't have audio. We don't have a transcript. We don't have notes. We just have the words of this woman. So to me, the confessions that were made by Richard Allen are very questionable. That's my opinion. Now, the confessions made by Keegan Klein are totally different. He was not in that solitary confinement conditions. His confessions were very detailed. I was driving to the cemetery with my father, and I wait in the car while he and another guy went to the bridge to commit the murder, something like that. So the confession was very, very detailed. We know that Keegan Klein was catfishing the girls just days before the occurrence of the murders. So I cannot compare the confessions of Richard Allen with other confessions that we can see here in this case, including the one that was made by Keegan, which led to the search of the Wabash River and to connect Richard Allen with the crime. So it's a total different situation than, in my opinion. Even the confessions that Ron Logan made to Ricky Davis, we know that there is the mention of the box cutter in that in those confessions. So when I put the different confessions like in an order or significance, the one made by Richard Allen, I'm gonna put it in the lower position. You know, I don't give a lot of weight to his confession. That's just my opinion. Okay, Fishy, she says that she's very positive. I know you are. And again, I didn't say that in public. The last time I was in Don't Hate Create show, I snapped. I was kind of mad, and I left the show in a very not positive way. So we already talked about that. We are good, but I just want to present my excuses today again. So excuses for Shane for saying he was the antagonist, and to Fishy, my two good friends here. Don't dox me. No chance one guy did this. I agree. 100%. It's impossible, in my opinion. evidence showed that this was committed by multiple perpetrators. I would probably vote guilty for Kegan Klein, says Fishy. Me too. But also, I would like to have all of the actors behind bars. Not just because I would vote guilty for Kegan Klein. I want to have the whole group convicted. If a proper investigation is conducted, they're gonna have that outcome. Kegan Klein and Julian Powell, you mean? No. Done. I wouldn't, but would an objective jury? My standard for guilt is not the state's burden, though. Okay, Simdal, to win the lottery, you have to buy the ticket. Of course. That's the way. If you don't buy it, you don't win the lottery. Julian Powell, his confessions on Slut's intuition. Yeah, that was a great interview. I remember there was a lot of polemic because I think Julian Powell was kind of having mental problems or mental issues. So some people was not very happy about that, but I think it was a very good document, a very good interview. And I think it's not available anymore, right? Anyways, done. Criminals falsely convicted and put on the death penalty tend not to be criminals when they get out. The fear rewires their brains, and they actually seem to rehabilitate from being criminals. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I think some people never change. Some people change, but I think when you have something, especially if you have some evil inside, the devil inside, like in excess, you maybe are gonna commit a crime again. But yeah, rehabilitation is rehab is possible as well. I don't know, but I think it's hard to change when you have a how can I say that, an addiction. Not everyone is able to stay in the good path or to change their direction. But yeah, some people do. Anyways, anyone know what happened with the Menendez brothers sentencing? I don't know. Slut intuition, fishy. Julian Powell surprised Richard Allen's defense didn't use him as a third-party suspect. Yeah, the defense, they didn't have the best strategy, in my opinion. Some important people were not part of their strategy, and that was a bad move. From the 3021, Australia. You disagree with the jury's decision, Dan. How many of us also disagree and are labeled Richard Allen supporters? Mar, red tape done, but they about to get a new sentence. Okay, you're talking about the Menendez brothers. Junior Johnson is here from Michigan. How are you, Junior? Happy to have you here. Dan again with a very important message. Smash that like button. Yeah, hit the like, guys. Shay Watson, how are you, Shay? I just never can get here on time. Hi, Cryptex and company. Hello, Shay. Happy to have you here. Okay, USA Libertarian. You know what is toxic? Making up for a shit investigation with a corrupt judge and trial and calling it justice. I agree. I usually tend to agree to the comments of USA Libertarian. We are always like aligned. It's not that this is good. It's just that that's the way. And it's not an alter account at all. Okay, I think we are almost gonna finish the video of Sergio. I think it's only a couple of minutes missing or pending. So I'm gonna play the rest of the video. It's not too long. Then I'm gonna come back to the chat and give me just a couple of minutes, guy. Let's go with the video. I'm gonna drink something because I'm thirsty, so give me also a couple of seconds to come back to the screen.
45 is one of Keegan's aliases or fake accounts online. So I put this in here for a little bit of context as to what he was doing. And then also because there's an important part at the end of this. It says, so the detective is reading what he posted basically on his account. He says, well, as he's talking to someone, he says, I just checked my Kik messages. Haha, my little cousin must have accidentally sent me a video of her. Oh my God. And then he says, Emily Ann sends a picture and says, that's the detective saying that. She just got naked and rubbed. Haha, it's hot as fuck. She's super young though. Emoji sad face. She didn't mean to send it to me. What's your deal? Said she didn't like that Emily Ann called another girl hot as fuck. And then Emily Ann says, she's my cousin. Then it ends. Another one that comes up on the iPhone, another Kik one. Now this is September 7th, 2016, with a 13-year-old girl, Emily Ann. What's up? My dad asked your age limit. He said you're gorgeous. He asked if it's wrong to like little girls like you. And the response is, it's okay, emoji laughing face. I highlighted in here because Keegan says, my dad asked your age limit, meaning that he's trying to find a little girl who's willing to have sex with his dad. And he wants to know if she's willing to have sex with somebody as old as his dad. This is conversations from the retrieved information from his phone. So this isn't something that he said to police at some point. Keegan is literally in there seeking a 13-year-old girl to hook up with his dad. And he's clearly acting at the behest of his father here, trying to hook him up, which supports the idea that Keegan is working for his father, that his father is the mastermind and that Keegan is the accomplice, whatever. All right, so let's go to the next question. Your exact same words were, yes, I do, and I'm so fucked. And Keegan says, yeah, because that's the polygrapher, telling me I just killed 2 people and I failed my polygraph. There's a continuation of the questioning that we started above, but it was interrupted by reading those texts in the interview. Okay, so they go back to this. Your exact same words were, yes, I do, and I'm so fucked. And he says, yeah, I said that. Yeah, because she, which is the polygrapher, is telling me I just killed 2 people and I failed my polygraph. So he's agreeing. Why the detective is saying, she said this, and you said, I'm so fucked. So he's asking, why did you say I'm so fucked if you weren't guilty just because she accused you? And he says, yeah, because she said that I killed 2 people and I failed my polygraph. So he doesn't answer the question. He just restates it. But we have a second confession in here. He says, I just killed 2 people. It's a second confession. Now, if you just randomly come across a confession and there's no other indicators around it, then you still want to verify that. You still want to find more indicators. You still want context for a deception. Like I said, a statement has to scream deception. Now, when you find a confession that's usually pretty solid, you still want more just to get a warm fuzzy about understanding the full picture. Here, we have a second confession, and this is just riddled. It's just filled with indicators. So there's no question what's going on. At this point, it is crystal clear what the truth is. But there's still a lot more, so let's keep going. All right, so we have a continuation of the confession and the I just killed 2 people and I failed the polygraph. So his continuation here is, yeah, no, I'm not really a big drinker because, so we have a negative plus an explanatory, that's deception. So he is a big drinker. And he says, because I have seizures and stuff. So I don't like drinking. Okay, we have another explanatory plus a negative. So I don't like drinking a lot. He says a lot, that's a qualifier. That means that he does drink, just not, now he puts out an arbitrary word, a lot. So what his definition of a lot could be, 60 beers in one night? I mean, what is a lot? So he says, I mean, it was fun, it was super cool, and you know what I mean? All right, so we have you know, I mean, you know what I mean. This repetition of these indicators is an indicator of huge sensitivity. So we're actually walking into an extremely sensitive area. When people add in a bunch of words and they string out the length of time that it takes to say what they don't want to say, it's because it's deceptive. It's a lie that's coming up, and it's so nerve-wracking that they don't want to get there. They're trying to slow walk to the deception. And then I get taken down there. They tell me I killed 2 people. So we have a third confession now. I killed 2 people. I failed the polygraph because I'm freaking out, and you know what I mean? All right, so now we have a third confession. We have huge sensitivity around this. We have massive indicators throughout this entire statement. So why do we have all of these indicators? And he says, they tell me I killed 2 people, I failed the polygraph. The insinuation here is the deception. They tell me that I did this. He's insinuating that he didn't. When you insinuate something but you don't say it, it means the insinuation is the opposite of the truth. It means that he did kill the 2 people. But we already know that because he says, I killed 2 people. So we already have the confession in here anyways. And we have all of this sensitivity surrounding it. Why? Because in his mind, he's building up a bunch of angst to insinuating that he didn't kill them. But the longer that he talks about this, the more vivid that memory becomes and the harder it becomes to lie about it. So that's why as he talks about it more and more, you see more and more indicators, and you see these, you know what I mean? I killed 2 people. I failed the polygraph because you know what I mean? So he's swimming in stress right now. And then the detective says, you know, the Delphi investigation, we found things that you weren't honest about either. And Keegan says, what do you mean? And so the interrogator says, you had told investigators, and I know you say you don't remember a girl that you ever talked to, but I know you remember Liberty German, right? And you know you talked to her and you admitted to talking to her. And okay, this is important because this is about to create a link that we were looking for before.
So that was the part 1 of the video. I really liked the analysis. Of course, we know that Kegan Kline is a liar, so it was expected that he was able to find indicators of deception in the interview that law enforcement made to Kegan. But the interesting thing is the way he's able to detect those indicators. We know by by life experience that Kegan is a liar. When we listen to a liar, we know this guy is a liar or this guy is honest. But this professional is showing us exactly why Kegan was lying and what are those indicators. And what is even more interesting here is that when he did the same analysis to the interrogations of Richard Allen, he was not able to detect those indicators of deception. Again, to me, it was really interesting to see that during almost 3 hours of interrogation. When you add Holman, Mullin, and Liggett, it was a lot of time, and Richard Allen didn't contradict himself. This guy, he was not able to detect any indicator of deception. So it's very interesting. We're gonna make a follow-up when he's gonna do the second part of the Kegan Kline's analysis. So I really liked this video. I hope you too, guys, in the chat. So I'm gonna finish with the comments and before ending the live. So Iwata says, I wouldn't want to be friends with Sergio. I would feel like he's constantly analyzing what I say. Imagine his wife. Oh my God. Ma. Aquarium 1. Thank you. That was my favorite show too. They were good at what they did. I always wondered what happened. I hope they're okay. You're talking about what? The Menendez brothers? I don't know. Iwata, Simdal. Iwata, I dated a psychologist, but it is just as annoying. Hey, Simdal, maybe we have some psychologists here in the chat, so they're not gonna be happy with you. Deb is here. Don't dox me. Okay, Dan, is not a baseline required for these things necessary. Good manipulators also can avoid tells. Good manipulators can avoid tells, but if you are a good investigator or a good interrogator, even if the suspect is a good manipulator, even if he's rehearsing the same speech during years, it's impossible. They're not gonna tell a lie. But you have to be a good interrogator, a professional, not a crappy investigator or a crappy interrogator, you know. Judge Jessica, how are you? Thank you for being here today. I was just watching this. Yeah, a lot of people did, and it was great, I think. Dan, you are the devil's advocate. I agree, he is. USA Libertarian. There was a rumor that Anthony Schultz paid Libby money. It's not a rumor. It's in the transcripts, and it is clearly said that there was some money. What was the exact sentence? We have the money, the Anthony Schultz money account going to Libby. Yeah, that was the way the phrase was constructed. And there was also an interview with one witness that where she told us that Kegan Kline or Anthony Schultz were sending her money via the Cash App application to buy Victoria's Secret stuff, and it was like $10 or something like that. And yeah, in the transcript that was published, I think it was a detective video interrogating Kegan Klein. It is we can see that information there that we have the money, the Anthony Schultz money account going to Libby. So yeah, what was the nature of that transaction? Good point. J. Ray, they were really good at what they did. I was in their Discord too. No sign of them. I don't know what are you talking about, guys in the chat. I'm gonna advance a little bit the comments here. Why is law enforcement worried about revealing the whole story? That's a great point. And it's a small town. Maybe they are protecting someone with power. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. In a small town, some people are powerful and law enforcement are just friends. So they don't want to put that guy with power behind bars. Remember the Murdoch case? There's an incident where a guy was killed on a highway, and that was related to the Murdoch's family. And we know what were the links between Murdoch and law enforcement. They were working together. Someone with power is very easy for law enforcement to protect him. So maybe that's the case. I don't know, just speculating. Dan. Again, Dan is very active today. This is good. If you believe others are involved, then you wouldn't want read bits out that could be known by others. I don't understand your point, but your question, Dan. But yeah, I think there are multiple actors, and I would love to have all of the actors behind bars for sure. I think there is no full justice in this case. even if, let's say, if Richard Allen was part of this, he's not the only one, for sure. The nature of the crime indicates that there were multiple actors. So where are the other actors? And that answer that Nick gave to the journalist, anyways, Keegan is behind bars, something like that. So, like, who cares? That's very unprofessional, for real. Ray, because I think they were wanting him to throw his dad under the bus or name another person. Aquarium 1. That's really depressing. A lot of their fans were really connected to the show, myself included. Job Jessica, this transcript he's talking about is not the one where Kegan Kline says red jeep, right? We haven't seen that one. No, I don't think we have. We know that that transcript. I don't think is being put in like in a public platform. Let's say. I think just a couple of journalists, like the Murder Sheet and others, they have that information. There's an episode that was made by the Murder Sheet where they talk about the Red Jeep story and the confession and at the Grissom Air Force Base, but I don't think we have the transcript. Don't dox me. USA, because even Carter was against Lowman. They argued a lot over this case. So ego and police against each other will rear its ugly head. Also, Nick McClellan has a big ego. Yeah, there's a lot of ego here in the prosecution side, in the defense side, in the YouTube community. Ego is everywhere here. USA Libertarian. He didn't throw his dad under the bus and still is to this day, even in the most recent interview. But he threw his dad under the bus when he confessed. In the confession of where he's talking about waiting inside the red jeep while his father and other guy were committing the murders. That's a way to say that he threw his dad under the bus. And I think during the interview with Barbara McDonald and even the Murder Sheet, he said that his dad was involved. If I remember well, the interview, I think so. Dan, I have an abrasive sense of humor and Asperger's. Yeah, exactly. I think that Finn can tell us something about that. Thank you, Dan. Condescension, exactly. Don't antagonize. Nick also is related to a lot of folks in Delphi. Of course. It's a small town. It's a small town, guys. There are connections, and people with power, they have law enforcement just next to them. Dan, my name is the Contrarian. If everyone likes you, then no one knows you. Yeah, I agree. We cannot please everyone for sure. I know Sam. Theirs was the first chat I ever chat in. What chat? Legitimately, we were friends. I was watching them since they had like 1,300 subscribers. Then poof. What chat? I don't know what are you talking about, guys. I love John Jett. Yeah, me too. I love John Jett. And Crimson and Clover over and over. I love that song. I just love it. And that version, I don't think is original from John Jett. I think it's a cover she did, but it's a great cover. USA Libertarian. I caught up after 10 p.m., but before I pissed off. Okay, let me go a little bit. Crystal Blue Persuasion is good 2. Shout out to Heisenberg. Oh, Lily Cho is here. How are you, Lily? I think you are connecting from UK. What time is there? Should be late. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna end soon the live. I'm just gonna say thank you. Thank you to all of you guys for being here. I will go to the end of the chat just to say bye-bye. And let's see, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. So thank you, Don't Dox Me, for being here. Thank you, Jackie. Mar, of course, Hiawatha, Simdal, my favorite mods. Dan, thank you for the super chat. Preco Science is here. How are you? Happy to have you here. A lot of people today. I really love the streaming tonight. Maybe tonight or tomorrow we can do another show. I'm gonna walk my dog. And thank you guys. Keep in touch. It was a pleasure as usual. See ya.